Everyone has to come from somewhere, and wherever you're from, there's always one or two things that you can brag about. It doesn't matter if it's true or not, as long as you believe it and you bring it up whenever someone asks, "So where are you from, originally?" Some say that Manhattan has the best drinking water, or that Chicago has the best sub, or that Cooperstown is the birthplace of baseball. Of course not. That's because these things describe Pittsfield, Massachusetts. And I ought to know, because I grew up on the longest dead-end street on the planet, Pine Grove Drive. The drinking water is the best because it uses the least chemicals of any municipal water system, and my brother helped design it. Everyone knows a sub is called a grinder, and you get those at Angelina's. And for baseball, by 1791, we already had it banned from being played too close to the town meeting house. As good a place that Pittsfield was, many of us moved away, helping to bring the population below 50,000, which we believe turned a city into a town, which is not true because a town just has to incorporate to be a city. This is what happened to Pittsfield when many of us left. The doomsayers had practically given up Pittsfield for dead. North Street seemed on a terminal decline. Much of the GE campus that sustained the city for so many decades was a brownfield site, a decaying industrial wasteland. The economy seemed mired in a status quo. At best, crime was rampant. The drug marketplace was thriving, and the city's self-image had plunged to rock bottom.
Here's one. Ninepence.
I'm not dead.
What? Nothing. Here's your ninepence.
I'm not dead.
Here. He says he's not dead.
Yes, he is.
I'm not.
He isn't?
Well, he will be soon. He's very ill.
I'm getting better.
No, you're not. You'll be stone dead in a moment.
This was 30 years after graduating from Pittsfield High School in 1977, when we were told that we could do anything. We were special. Like, we were the only class to ever attend 3 different high schools in 3 years. We had the most beautiful women of any class ever, anywhere. We were also voted the most apathetic class to ever graduate from PHS because of point number 1, we having no lasting connection to the building.
I remember our sophomore year, the school was literally falling apart. The floors had holes in it, certain classrooms were shut down, and it was in pretty bad shape. I remember sitting in the back row of French class and just sitting there by the window, and if I pushed hard enough on the window, it would fall out. And it was great fun that a lot of us would continue in the demolition of the school.
11th grade, 1976, we were all over the place. They were renovating the school, and we were at the Jewish Community Center, Pittsfield Girls Club, top floor Plunkett Elementary School, Madonna Hall, Pittsfield Boys Club, and the old PHS/BCC, and then what it was commonly known to us as Central Annex.
Open campus at the Central Annex, which was one of the greatest ideas that ever came up in all of high school history. You know, it was all fun till it started getting really cold.
In the wintertime, we noticed that the field got really muddy, and if you kind of slid down the hill, they let you go home to change. I was just a clumsy girl in high school because I spent a lot of time sliding down that hill.
During the most massive high school renovation ever in 1976, they ripped out our beautiful auditorium. Its balcony shook violently during a prep rally in 1975, and they closed it. They said it was too expensive to fix and we needed more classrooms. Whatever. Eleanor Roosevelt spoke there in 1954. Hillary Clinton speaks at the Colonial Theater on South Street and it gets renovated. We got some crappy looking classrooms and an indoor smoking room.
What they did was the architects decided to gut the main auditorium in half and turn the ground floor space of the auditorium into classes, and then the upper part of the auditorium would be the library. So they took the heart and the lifeblood of the building and they destroyed it. They turned it in, they sort of bastardized it.
But despite the setbacks, an average amount of us graduated in 1977 from our average town. We had your average hangouts like parks, lakes, coffee shops, and any place to park a car in private. We had the average student division between jocks, cheerleaders, and fans. We had mongs or goths or partiers and the smart kids. We also had bullies and the whole average high school crap that we're all reliving at this very moment. But this is just normal average stuff. So average that when you hear "Will it play in Peoria," the advertisers were also talking about Pittsfield because we were also the most average city in America. A prime example is Star Channel, now named HBO, that debuted in our little test market.
Talk about genetic deficiencies. Isn't that pitiful?
Come on, I'm with you.
Many canceled this free service after the showing of Deliverance. So speaking about the natives, here's a little history. Pittsfield was originally called Pontusic by the Mohican Indians, meaning a field or haven for winter deer. The Mohicans wore what we call the mohawk, which the British called the Mohican, and originally the hair was pulled out rather than cut, so it was probably invented by some frustrated kid wandering around in the winter.
Boy, I've really done it this time. I had one simple direction. Go that way. How did I end up getting lost? My amigos were right. I am a lousy Mexican. They're all living the good life while I'm stuck out here in Mexico. I am the last of the Mexicans.
The white folk first named it Pontusic Plantation and then Pittsfield after William Pitt, or Pitt the Elder, who later became a British Prime Minister.
And I say England's greatest Prime Minister was Lord Palmerston.
Pitt the Elder.
Lord Palmerston!
Pitt the Elder!
Okay, you asked for it, Boggs!
Yeah, that's showing him, Bonnie. Pitt the Elder.
Lord Palmerston!
Pittsfield lies between the Berkshire Hills to the east and the Taconic Range to the west and the Appalachian Mountains. Several ski areas are near here, with hiking, camping, and swimming in several lakes. Pittsfield lies at the confluence of the east and west branches of the Housatonic River, which flows south 140 miles to Long Island Sound. Our accent is pretty hard on the A's, like Pittsfield, Massachusetts. We pronounce our R's, and we talk wicked fast. More New York than Boston because we're 20 miles from the border, which we discovered sells beer on Sundays. Pittsfield is beautiful, with ancient rolling mountains covered with giant trees that turn brilliant colors every fall. We have an extensive culture with theater, dance, music, and art that thrives to this day. The Appalachian Trail goes right through Pittsfield with several trailheads. Mount Greylock, the highest point in Massachusetts, can be seen most anywhere, even from the PHS rooftop. We have our own historic religious cult right down the road at Shaker Village. So, a pretty great place to grow up, a great place to live, and even a better place to visit. It is the Berkshires, you know. Here's a few things that happened in Pittsfield. We talked about the baseball thing, so catching a game at Wacona Park is ultra cool. Herman Melville wrote Moby Dick while in Pittsfield, and it was published in 1851. It's a compilation of true stories of a whale that sank a ship and whales that died with old harpoons in their backs. General Electric started with William Stanley and the Stanley Electric Company, who pioneered the alternating current or AC transformer. It worked better for moving power over long distances than Thomas Edison's direct current, so Edison's GE bought him out. In 1902, Theodore Roosevelt gave a speech in Pittsfield Park Square and then took a horse and carriage down South Street towards Lenox. A mile and a half later, bam! An electric trolley car hits the carriage and kills his bodyguard, making this the first and only Secret Service agent to ever die while protecting a president. We had a computer class in 1977 learning the programming language Fortran with punch cards and large floppy drives. We were at the start of the computer revolution. Apple is incorporated. The Space Shuttle Enterprise takes its first glide off of a 747. Voyager 1 and 2 are launched. They are now 33.5 light hours away. We see the first film in a decades-long trilogy of trilogies in Star Wars. In 1977, some of us went to concerts at Music Inn to see the band Hot Tuna and our own Arlo Guthrie. We road trip to Hartford, Connecticut for concerts with Kiss, Aerosmith, Frank Zappa, and Grateful Dead. Fleetwood Mac Rumors is released in 1977. We just can't stop thinking about tomorrow. So, things have gotten better, our kids have gotten smarter, we're living longer, we all have shiny new electronics that fit in our pockets. So what's the one thing you want to do now? How about going to the most protected place in our whole high school history? And I'm not talking Danskin.
Loving you isn't the right thing to do.